Welcome to another episode of Sex, Money and Power, Purity and Integrity, Perfecting Holiness in the Fear of God, with your host, David Gold. Today we are still in Genesis chapter 20. This is one of the best passages in the Bible that combines sex, money and power in a natural way. By the end of our lesson today, God will convince us that a true man, a real man, a true gentleman does not steal another man's wife, does not take advantage of a poor man or a less advantaged man. That a real gentleman does not help another man's wife behind that man's back. That a real man, a true gentleman, a man of God, a man of power, a man of influence, a true leader is a man that will help both the poor man and his wife instead of taking advantage of their financial or social status. Abraham had no permanent dwelling and he kept moving from place to place. That's the way the nomads usually do, and he had been told by the Lord to leave his people and his home and to go to a place where God would show him. And he was still on his journey. He had not settled yet. After the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham find himself taking another walk again. He has relocated and now he has settled in a place called Gerar, and there is a man called King Abimelech who lives in Gerar, and he is the judge and the jury and is the executioner and executor of all that goes along that place. Now, due to having a beautiful wife, Abraham was always afraid of being defranchised by evil men wherever he found himself going, because everywhere he found himself going, he was a sojourner, he was a stranger, he was an alien. Not only was Abraham afraid of losing his wife, he was afraid of being killed by those who would take his beautiful wife. As such, he lived a lie and taught the wife to fake it until they made it. When they reached Gerar, the king of Gerar saw an opportunity to grab another man's wife. Every beautiful woman who passed by Gerar was fit for this greedy King Abimelech. King Abimelech took Abraham's wife to add to his many wives and concubines, but Abraham was left a lonely man. He had just lost the beautiful, ravishing Sarah. Now, God will not stomach such injustices, even though Abraham, or anyone for that matter, had lied out of fear. This was a prophet who was fearing, because strangers are usually afraid. It's standard, it's common. You're not so sure how people will receive you in a new place. Why? Why is God angry at what King Abimelech has done, and why does he come in the dreams of the night as a nightmare and warn this king severely? Number one, looking at 10 lessons we are learning, or reasons why you shouldn't just do this bit of wife stealing. It doesn't matter what kind of a man that you are. Number one, it's unfair for any man to have more than one wife, while some people don't have, on account of those who already have. We are not talking of a situation where Abraham had many wives and now King Abimelech took some other wives and left Abraham with some few others. No, Abraham didn't have another wife. This was the only wife of Abraham. But here is a King Abimelech who has other many wives and also wants this one of Abraham. It reminds me of the story of Nathan and David. Nathan telling David a story of this great man who had many cattle but just came to pick that little lamb that belonged to a poor man. This is the same scenario revisited here. Now, God doesn't like that. Even in the case of the Nathan story, David actually pronounced a judgment that was so severe against such men as steal the only one woman that certain men has vis-a-vis themselves have many wives. Lesson number 2. There will always be more influential, more powerful and wealthier men than others. It's a fact. But whatever the privileges that a man might have above his fellows, the same powers are not to be abused, but to serve the less privileged. And that is what Abimelech never bothered to discover about Abraham. Otherwise, he would not have taken his wife. Number 3. Not every poor, beautiful woman wants to be married by a rich man who he doesn't love at the expense of her marriage. Number 4. The fact that the poor and the stranger don't protest the injustices carried out against them does not make it right to oppress them. God will be their voice. Number 5. God is the defender of the stranger and the alien among you. It's wrong to discriminate against foreigners or the powerless or the poor. Number 6. Every man deserves his partner wherever he goes or happens to settle. It's not good for a man to be alone according to Genesis. So when a man like King Abimelech grabs another man's wife and leaves that man lonely, he's breaking the law of God and the law of the nature of the socialization of the family of the people. Number 7. The silent cries of the defranchised men go up to God, and though they may be powerless to protest against powerful or wealthier men than them, God calls the defaulters dead men. When God came to King Abimelech, he never bothered about the status of King Abimelech, but amazingly, he bothered about the status of Abraham. He said to King Abimelech, "You are a dead man." But about Abraham, he said, "He's my prophet." Number 8. God has the means and the power to execute the capital punishment upon wife stealers. So you may run below the radar of the society and get away with stealing a man's wife because the rules of the nation or the country or the state which you are in does not take this matter seriously. It is not so in the spiritual realm. God will not stomach this kind of injustice. So wife theft is a no-go zone for any man that calls himself a God-fearing man, for that matter. Number 9. God does not move to swiftly punish or kill every wife snatcher in town. He first warns and gives them time to make amends. That is our God. You can still see the grace of God in King Abimelech's life because he never just fell dead. God visited him, and that was amazing. So he had the opportunity to also make his own argument before God, and God listened to him, and I find that to be so gracious. God appeared to the King Abimelech and carried out a reasonable conversation with him, and that is why our God is such a good God, because he will not just take out a man's life without warning him. And number 10, which is now the total sum of all that we have learned, it's a warning to anyone who has stolen the love, the affection, or the company of another man's wife. It goes to any man who hears this and he knows that in his life he has defranchised a brother or another man or a neighbor of the love, the affection of their wives. God can use such a video post to warn you. Leave that girl alone. Leave that woman alone. Release her to the husband unconditionally. Pay any damages if need be. King Abimelech did not just release Sarah to Abraham empty-handed. He paid for damages, for example, like the psychological trauma or turmoil that he had put Abraham and Sarah through. They were thinking about each other And I know that Abraham or Sarah could not bear the loss of being cut off from their spouses. God had to intervene. This is how true justice or repentance operates. Even if King Abimelech had not slept with that woman, still he paid for the damages of separating a man and a woman and subjecting them to psychological torture. You don't have to sleep with a man's wife to repent. Even flirting and obtaining her company behind a husband's back, that's enough crime that needs compensation, as expressed by the nobility of King Abimelech. He never touched her, he never slept with her, yet he found it worthy and good and noble to compensate the husband, even though the husband had lied. You can say that I was trying to care for this woman because the husband was negligent. No, don't try to sleep with another man's wife, faking false compassion and care. No, you cannot care for another man's wife, and you're not supposed to. And that woman does not need you to cover them in your shelter. What those women need is to be returned to the husband. If you have any form of support that you'd want to support a woman and a wife that is not yours, the best thing to do is to support her when she is under the husband roof. And this is a call to men who would rather give women money and support them behind their husband's back so that they can sleep around with them, instead of supporting such men as are not strong financially. If you're a man that is taking advantage of a weaker man, you're an evil man. Men are supposed to support each other and see the need to do it by the reason of the fact that they are able to have a correct judgment of the things at hand. Why a woman, for instance, would come to you to sleep with them so that you can supply them with money, or you can give them some gift, or whatever it is that transactional sex involves. When a woman is poor who comes to a rich man, that man is supposed to use his judgment to help that kind of a family, not to help the woman alone, but to come open, come clean, and respect the desire to see that this man and wife, this poor man and wife, these foreigners, these strangers, these nomads, these people who are not settled, that they are settled in a strong family. And that is something that God will bless you for. So think about that woman you are flirting with, that woman that is married that you're sleeping around with, that woman that is betrothed to be married, is a fiancé to a certain friend of yours who is poor financially, and when she comes to you for help, you decide to sleep with her before you help them. That is evil, and God does not approve of those kind of things. In fact, according to what he says to Abimelech, you're a dead man if you continue doing that. Is tantamount to wife stealing, and wife theft is not countable before the eyes of God. So men, I beseech you by the mercies of God, try to help out men who are noble, but they could be having challenges financially, and therefore they find that they are not able to fight or to clothe or to entertain their wives the way they naturally should if they were rich or at your possession. Be a gentleman and be your brother's keeper. Otherwise, God bless you and spread the love. Let's keep pure and holy and perfecting holiness in the fear of God. God bless you. Consider subscribing, leave a comment, and let me know what you think of Genesis chapter 20. God bless.